simpler than open air museum, blah, blah, blah. So I will call it map here. And it is quite a young story because it was started in 2014 and was promoted by the city of Faenza. Of course, it has also older artworks, older than 2014. But in that year, the municipality decided to create an open-air museum, so a cultural institution that deals with the preservation and enhancement of these artworks. It includes over 70 artworks, and there are historical monuments like statues, but also contemporary artworks. There are small things, big things, and it is very spread out in the city. Yes, not only in the center, also in the peripheries. Yes, of course, the artworks are not all in ceramics, but many of them are ceramic made because Faenza has a strong ceramic history, tradition, and we still have many ceramists in our city that make ceramics every day. And we also have many artists that come from all over Italy and all over the world to work with our workshops to make big artworks, not only for our open-air museum, but also for exhibitions, museums all over the world. So many of them, of course, are ceramic artworks. As Francesca said before, the city is the ideal container for an open-air museum because everyone can see the artworks always, free from barriers. As I said, in the center, but not only. So urban and extra-urban, in the streets, in the squares, but also in the parks. So many artworks are actually in parks and gardens. And this is a way to enhance the quality of living in these places, because cultural artworks is a way to leave a sign in a place, in a garden, in a square, in a street, and to how can I say, to tell people to pay attention to it, so to focus on it and to think about it, to reflect about what that artworks can say to us. And in many cases about why that artworks is placed there. So in many cases artworks are connected to the history of the street, of the square in which they are placed. As Francesca said, yes, during the pandemic, we appreciated a lot the fact that we have this heritage that is free. So, for example, when museums were closed, we could just have a walk in the city and see very special artworks. And in many cases, I have to say, citizens rediscovered these artworks after the pandemic, because when you walk in the city to go to work or whatever, you are focused on your mind and you don't think about what you see around you. But after many months in our houses, I have to say that a lot of people experimented this heritage in a newer and special way. In many cases, the map is intended to encourage citizen participation in wider form of urban life and governance, especially in the extra-urban areas and in the areas with social issues, and in many cases the artworks were built, realized in that places within projects with a social aim. So they were part of a wider project that has to help that areas to create for themselves a better way of live the areas. I think that for this meeting in particular, we have an interesting collaboration that I will show you. We have started to collaborate with the University of Bologna with the Department of Conservation and Restoration of Cultural Heritage, and in March 2021 we developed this experimental project called WalkEUR, which means artworks outdoor, and it was developed to create an online database of each artwork of the map, including artistic notes, information for visitors and tourists, and also data about the monitoring of the conservation status. This is the link. I hope it works. Consent. See. Okay. Okay, so this is an experimental website. Experimental in the sense that it is not with this link you can go there, of course, but it's a project developed within a final dissertation project by students and by 2 students, I think. And what they developed is a very simple way to create a digital archive for our artworks. And for example, you can see that sorry. So now it's not developed for all the artworks, but only for some of them. But our goal is to develop it and to enlarge it in order to have the full coverage of all artworks. So these are, for example, the artists that were mapped in this experimental project. And also I will show you the an experimental I think it's here. Okay, so here you find the artworks that were mapped. For example, I can go here. So you find a brief description of the artwork, the map, of course, and the mapping of the preservation of the, and also the monitoring of the artwork. So, for example, it was monitored in 2003 and in 2006 about the conservation status, and of course all the material techniques, dimensions, and so on. And these are the other documents related to the artwork. And this project for us is very important because it's very simple. I mean, it's a digital database of our artworks, but it would really help because, as I said, we have many artworks, in many cases big artworks of different materials, techniques, and every artwork has a precise scheme of conservation, but people changes. So, for example, now I am the person in charge of the preservation, but maybe in 2 years I change my work, and then another person arrive, and it's kind of complicated to have all this information together, well organized. And so this website would help us in having a tool for people working, let's say, in the backstage, so taking care of preservation, conservation, development, but also for tourists, for people that want to know more about the artworks. And so this is something we are working on, and it will be presented to the scientific committee of the map in order to be developed furthermore and extended to all artworks of map. So going back to the... ¿No está hasta una? Oh, yeah, okay. Yes, these are the key works that Francesca mentioned before. So we talk about heritage, and in fact the map makes Faenza citizen and tourist acquainted with the artistic ceramics heritage and handicraft history and tradition of our city. Accessibility, as I said, map artworks are always visible. You can visit them anytime when you want, when you cross our square or when you go to a park. Mobility, of course, the visit is encouraged considering green and slow mobility. In a sense that, of course, Faenza is not very big, so you can visit, I can say that you can visit all artworks with a bike. So, yes, it's true, we have artworks in the center and in extra-urban areas, but Faenza is quite small, so it's very, it's a nice, it can be a nice walk or a nice bike ride to discover many artworks of the map. As it regards inclusivity, as I said, city center, but not only in the city center. And finally, social welfare. As I said, in many cases, artworks are linked to social projects. So projects for kids in some areas or for older generations. And not all of them, but many of them were born in these social projects. And many will, in the future, we will keep on going with this social practice. So this is the entrance of the MIC Museum, the International Ceramics Museum in our city. and the entrance is made by a very famous Italian artist, is Mimmo Palladino, and as this artwork is outside the MIC, it's part of the map. So there are some pictures that. This, for example, is an artwork located in a parking. So it's in the center, but yes, it's a park, and it's a parking, and it's a public place again. So you can go there and see it when you want. This is an example of an artwork located in a park. As you see, many of them are very huge, and that's why restoration and preservation is a theme that we cope with every day. And also many of them are made of different materials. So for example, in this one, there is, I think, iron and also ceramics in the basement. So different materials means different ways to preserve them, and so it's a huge work. Yes, sure.
This artwork, it was at first inside of the museum?
No. I think I can say that all artworks of MAPPA were made for that specific place.
To be outside?
Yes. Yes, so we are in this park, and so this is to underline the mobility aspect.
Una domanda anche.
See?
Is there a program for the maintenance of that?
No, there is a.
Very important.
Yes, it's very important. It's very difficult because Faenza is a small town, and yes, this is quite a big open-air museum for a small town. There is an office of our municipality that take care of the map and of artworks. There is not a structured maintenance program, but this is what the scientific committee aims to develop in the next years. As I said, this museum was created 6 years ago. So the first step was to map the artworks, to create a database with descriptions and information about the artist, artist statements about the artworks. In some cases, we have done some preservation interventions within the collaboration with the university. But yes, I know that this is the next step to have a.
Another question: who chooses the artworks?
The scientific committee. The scientific committee is made by the city councillor to culture, by the director of the International Museum of Ceramics, and by the chief officer for culture and for urban development, and by 2 external members that can change over time and that are chosen for their expertise in this specific field. And the committee decides about the installation of new artworks.
So, may I ask something else?
Sure.
So the idea of this project is that the artworks will remain in the open
Yes,
air.
they are permanent.
Temporary during the pandemic that they leave the permanent collection in the museum.
No, they are permanent.
No,
They are permanent. Yes. And they, as I said, the map was created as a cultural institution of the city in 2014, but I think the greater part of the artworks were installed before. So that was the intention, to create a unique, how can I say, a unique museum to have all the artworks. Yes, yes, and also not only to catalog what we already have, but also to promote the installation of new artworks. So these pictures, for example, are artworks located in the outside the city center, again in a park or in a pedestrian path. As you can see from pictures, we have very different artworks, and also thanks to the fact that ceramics allows you to make very different things, from small pieces to very big pieces, from sculptures to installation. So it's very we have very different artworks. Digitalization is, yes, for us is the upgrade to a wider and comprehensive communication, as well as a crucial aspect for the management, monitoring, and preservation of the urban heritage in ceramics. So our current status of digitalization, we have all artworks catalogued, and we have a website with a map of all artworks location and brief technical sheet and information available for the download. This was the first action developed in 2014, so it's quite an old-fashioned website now. And that's why we hope to improve it, also collaborating with the university with this experimental project that I just showed you. And also on this current website you can find documentation of the evolution of the decoration and creative styles. So, okay, and that's what we want to do. So create digital communication for the development of a coherent flow of information between the offline and online activities of the map. An integrated communication plan to give greater visibility to the cultural heritage and also to contrast the digital divide. An integrated touristic promotion of the territory with highlights on the existing and new itineraries about cultural, historical, artistic and environmental heritage. And for all these points, the map will be integrated in the digital territorial project called Territory and Storytelling, new itineraries between culture and sustainable tourism. This is a project that still is under development, but the map will be part of it because open-air artworks can really be a tool for territory and storytelling, because artworks always tells stories, and they are located in the public space, so in the territory. So this is what we aim to do, to have an open-air museum which tells stories to people, about the artworks, about the artists, about places, and this is the ultimate aim of art, to tell stories. So I think, yes, so Faenza is terminated, and I leave the word to Francesca for the other cities.
Just after the case history, I would like to just show very quickly some other existing examples that our partners within the European Route of Ceramics have developed in the past years autonomously, but because the link to ceramics is very strong for each of the partners, actually all of us in different ways along history and over the decades have developed offers and opportunities that have become great solutions, especially during the last months. So first example, partner is Castelló de la Plana in Spain, Comunitat Valenciana. The municipality of Castelló, together with the tourism office, have developed a digitalized platform which is called Rutas Cerámicas. So they propose 3 ceramic itineraries related to tradition, contemporary, and especially the urban and architectural use of ceramics. You know, Castellón is distinguished for being an industrial reference for ceramics. So along with the tradition, they actually represent within the route the example of the ceramic industry and how it is related to architecture and urban areas. All of the partners, in a way, but Castelló is really representing the industrial aspect. Along the city, all the places, the ceramic places, open-air places, identified for the 3 routes, have a QR code, and scanning the QR code, the visitor or the tourist can know a bit more about the history and about the characteristics of the artwork or the building. Okay, this is a perfect example of what ceramics in architecture and open-air urban areas and buildings show. So the level of digitalization is quite high because there is a dedicated platform and QR codes all around the city and the 3 ceramic itineraries, alongside with PDF material, touristic material, and information material available for download, printed paper at the Tourist Information Office. Second example is the city of Hergrenzhausen. I'll show you the picture here, then go back to the previous slide. Hergrenzhausen is a partner municipality in Germany, Land Rheinland-Pfalz. So in the, we could say near Köln, so in the quite middle of Germany. Their open-air itinerary is called the Stelen-Rundweg. So it's around 28 pillars, wooden pillars. It's about 2.25 meters high, and above each pillar is a ceramic artwork of quite big dimensions. And they recall the handicraft tradition and the very long historic tradition that Hergrenzhausen has with ceramics, especially stoneware in that case. So the pathway runs along the town center of Hergrenzhausen for 2 kilometers, starting from the Keramikmuseum Westerwald, which is actually the ceramics museum in Hergrenzhausen and Rheinland-Pfalz, very important. There will be an implementation of the artworks also outside of town, and as Paola was explaining before, for the map in Faenza, also in Hergrenzhausen, the purpose is to integrate the artworks not only with ceramics but with other materials that are very typical and traditional of the area, such as blown glass. Actually, the Municipality of Orgenshausen and Westerwald Museum last month have developed an activity also supported by the European Route of Ceramics that was a merge between ceramics and blown glass, and also iron and wood, for example. So there will be an integration of the materials. The level of digitalization here is having available for download on the municipality website a description of the itinerary and very brief, short technical data sheet. Last example is Porzellanicon Museum in Zelb. They have developed, Zelb is Bavaria, so they, it's really near the border with the Czech Republic. Once that was the area called Bohemia, so one of the most important areas for porcelain, and across borders they have created this porcelain route that gives information about not only let's say, most important places for musealization of porcelain in that area, but also the industrial heritage and the development of sustainable touristic offers. So actually, the proposal is about having the possibility to run across parts of the porcelain route in Bohemia, so between Bavaria and the Czech Republic, trekking or bike riding, for example, with an extensive availability of databases for accommodation, gastronomy, so where to eat, where to sleep, what to visit, and so on. The objective for the European Route of Ceramics in terms of sources and digitalization of the sources is to join all the experiences for the future. So we know this is a tough task, but joining the experiences and making them available through communication will develop the network digitalizations in parallel to what is existing currently with all partners. The communication tools are aimed at further developing cultural sustainable tourism offers, using the existing actions and enhancing new ones. So development of videos and website, use of the social media, and we hopefully would like to restart hosting events, press trips, as soon as that will be possible. Thank you very much, everyone.